Welcome back, everyone. Mike McConville here one more time for String Tech Workstations, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. We have two different guitars here with very similar problems. Where the neck joins the body, you can see it kind of swoop up, and there's a high spot right here. And that is very common. It's just nature of the beast. You've got that male dovetail into the female dovetail in the block, the head block itself, the fingerboard, the top, the back, the sides, they all converge at this point. So it's not that this area swells up, it just doesn't budge. Everything else in the guitar does. Top flexes up, the carved portion of the neck becomes quite flexible, but this area right here, like I said, it just stays exactly where it is from the day it's made to 100 years from now, and it's because of that complexity of wood joints. Okay, let's go look at that other guitar. So with Kathy's guitar, this Guild guitar, which was the first run out of California after Fender bought out Guild, you'll see that we've got quite a swoop in the neck on this one as well. And both of these guitars will have a partial refret. You can see the amount of wear in those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will probably go up to the 7th fret. So what we'll do is we'll replace those frets with new frets that are slightly higher than the original ones, and then we'll dress them down to the height of the original frets. And that'll put Kathy right back to factory spec. This guitar will be like better than the day it was made, because we're going to be doing a compensated nut as well. Another point of interest about this particular guitar, Kathy is a choir director, and all the instruments she has are calibrated for 432, A432, not 440. So we will change the calibration on the tuner so that this guitar will be intonated compensated nut and compensated saddle A432. So with Dan's J150, you can see the wear marks. Like I mentioned earlier, it's pretty well the same job. So those first 7 frets will be removed. We'll put new frets in that are slightly higher than the original frets and gently dress them down to that original fret height. And Dan will also be back to factory spec. And of course we'll be doing a compensated nut and compensating the saddle on this one as well. Now Dan uses a medium string, 13 to 56, and Kathy uses the 12 to 53 regular lights. This will not be 432, it'll be set up for 440. And as always, we're going to walk you through it step by step. So we're going to put a little bit extra load. Now this is tuned minus that one string to concert pitch, and you can see how the truss rod works. So I will back off that truss rod because we're going to be taking 180 pounds of load off that neck when we remove these strings. So the idea is to get the neck as straight as possible before you go anywhere near it with a file, and that is what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and adjust the neck on Kathy's guitar here. You can watch the truss rod kind of do its thing as we straighten the neck. These are both single action truss rod, and I'm doing this to demonstrate, but I will loosen both of these truss rods off once we relieve the guitars of their string tension. In this case, you're looking at about 162 pounds of string tension pulling up on that neck, and the truss rod, of course, is counteracting the pull of those strings. So now you've seen the Gibson and the Guild truss rods doing their thing. Next, well, you saw what that truss rod adjustment did under string load, but now we have released that string load, and this is why I did not adjust it again yet. I wanted to show you this. So this is why you need to adjust the neck again. You see the back bow that's going in? We had medium strings on there, so it had quite a bit of torque. But you see that back bow? You do not want to go anywhere near those frets with a file until we straighten this out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that load that we put on to resist the pull of the medium strings. We'll take that off now, and you'll see in the camera how much of a difference that makes. Now I'm not looking at the camera, I'm just sort of going by my straight edge, but you can see it's still in a back bow. More, a little bit more. Let's check that again. Alright, no more rocking now. But did we go too far? Well, I think we might have, so I'm going to put a little bit of load back on. That's pretty close to the mark. I'm going to get a smaller straight edge, sort of check it. You got to watch because there's some heavy wear in these frets, so you don't want to be over top of the grooves that Dan has kind of made in the frets as he's worn them out. We're pretty close here. Now, this is the other point I wanted to make, is where the neck joins the body. Well, guess what? What's happening now is the neck gets to the body and then the fingerboard extension drops off slightly, so you end up getting this high spot. And you've heard me say that a few hundred times over the last 600 videos. Yeah, so this we need to take care of. The main portion of the neck now is straight. So we've done what we need to do as far as getting the lay of the neck as straight as possible before we pick up the leveling file. Same story here with Kathy's guitar. I adjusted that truss rod to resist the pull of the D'Addario EJ16s, which are 162 and change pounds pressure. And now the neck is going in a back bow, and you can see that. And I purposely left that tension on so that you can see the difference as I release that tension. Again, this is a single action truss rod. It's not a two-way truss rod. I'm sure you can see that moving, the camera. Now let's do that again. Let's do our little reconnaissance on the straightness of the neck. And that's looking pretty darn good. I can see a little bit of light through here, so I'm gonna favor that. Give it just a little bit more. And we'll check it again. Yep. And that's looking good. But again, at the neck junction, that's the high spot. Let me get a smaller straight edge. Here's a slightly smaller straight edge. These are the straight edges that I send out in the fretting kits. Yeah. There are 6 of them actually. And a smaller one again. So this one actually spans 3 frets. Now, like I said, it's easy to get a false read because there's so much wear in these frets. Boy. Okay, so I see a high spot, that 1 fret. So let's just do a little experiment here. Let's back that off a little bit further and see if that disappears. Yeah, this fret is a little bit high. So let's just go up and let's ignore that for now. Yeah, there's another high spot. So we got a few different spots along the length of this neck that need to be addressed. There's another one. So as long as we're aware of these when we do our fret dress, we'll get them all. I'll get out a piece of chalk and mark them so you can see clearly. Well, there are multiple spots on this neck that need to be addressed. These are the smaller straight edges of the 6 that I send in the kit that will span 3 frets. Yeah, so that pretty well does it. We got all those high spots. So we know where we're going with that fret file now. So with the Gibson, similar issue, but not exactly the same. This portion of the neck is good. This is really just concentrated at the neck to body junction. And that's it right here, this area right here. So that's now ready for the file. Score that lacquer while it's hot. Put it around this side. Let's see how we do here. Get that outside flap of lacquer kind of leveled again while it's while it's still soft from the heat. This side, same thing. Same deal here with Kathy's Guild. Once again with strike while the lacquer's hot. These ends. This side. That's what we want to see, right on the glue line. Catch that outside edge. Again, while everything's heated up. On this side, same thing. You gotta move with a certain amount of stealth when you're removing these frets from an ebony fingerboard, because when you heat the fret, it becomes more malleable for a very brief time, because when it cools, it's harder than it was to begin with. So order of the day is heat, and very quickly follow up with removal before the fret gets a chance to cool. The ebony is much more prone to chipping than rosewood. Go take a look at that Gibson. Well, we've got our 7 new replacement frets in, and I'm just getting ready to edge dress and bring those new frets in level with the original frets. This is a single cut mill file, so it only cuts in one direction. I always preferred that because it's a much finer file than the double cut files. Now we're on to the auger file to get those sharp tips on the bottom of the crown. Other side. Frets are just ever so slightly higher than the original frets that were put in when the guitar was made. So this is the other reason we took the nut out, because I can start right from the first fret and make my way up. And you see that I'm moving obliquely like this because obviously the file is dead flat. The frets have a curvature. So the only way to follow that curvature without gouging a path with the file is to move obliquely over the crown and keep the file in line with the string path. Yeah, I'm liking that. I think we're just about there as far as leveling goes. Yes, we are. The vinyl and foam on the outside of the scrub blocks actually flexes and slurs over the crown and just naturally scrubs the crown right back to dead center. Here is the final tally. This is not A440, it's A432. We'll start with the low E and its octave. 12th fret and 1st fret. Here's our A string, 12th fret, open, and 1st fret. D string, 12th fret, open, and 1st fret. 3rd string, 7th fret, its octave, 12th fret, open, and 1st fret. Okay, 2nd string, 7th, and its octave, 12th fret, open, and fretted. So these are the final values on that saddle. These are 12 to 53 strings of concert pitch. I installed a set of ebony bridge pins with the pearl dot. So now we can pick up where we left off with Dan's J150. I put that 1st fret in. It is 84 wide. The original frets are 80. So you've got an extra 2 thou on either side. The height on these ones will be brought down to the height of the original frets. And hit these with the auger file as well. Those sharp tips on the bottom. Much better. So we're going to bring that down just a little tiny bit, and I want to check for squareness. So you can see I've got these 4 strings that are sharp. They can all be actually lowered, which is going to reduce some of the sharpness. Now we do need to respect the radius on the tip of the crown so we get a match to the fingerboard radius, which we have. So I've marked in pencil where I'm going to cut that line back to. And this is the final call on the Gibson J150. There's our cantilevered compensated bridge saddle and the new replacement ebony pins with a pearl dot. This is the final call on the compensated nut. Now this is 13 to 56 at concert pitch. So we'll bring it into the house and have a listen. So this is the bone compensated cantilever bridge saddle. You can see the wear in the top. Like I said, this is a working man's guitar, big time. And that is the bone compensated nut. This guitar definitely has that big jumbo sound. Okay, now I looped that, and I'll let that play. So this is the quick wrap up. Compensated nut, compensated saddle, partial refret, and full calibration for 432, A432. This is the progression I've looped. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 3. So we're going to let that play. But again, I'm kind of hopping all over the neck with different triads to sort of give you a sense of the intonation across the entire span of the neck. So we're going to let that play. So this is another loop I just quickly did in B minor. play and just go over top of that.